And if you know you're not good with change, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up because you're not. Figure out how you can be more accepting to it because it will happen no matter what. And then don't be so into the decision that I'm not going to change or I don't want this to happen that you go 2 or 3 years down the road and you're like, wow, what would have been different in my life if I would have took that pivot at the time I knew I should have.
Welcome to Pebbles of Light, where we highlight the everyday people who bring hope, comfort, and light to others. I'm your host, Anne Maxson, sharing meaningful stories to help you find light in your journey. If the messages shared resonate with you, please follow, share, or support the podcast through Patreon to help keep the mic on and spread the light even farther. Today, I'm joined by Holly Porter, a founder, speaker, and purpose-driven leader who's turned profound personal trials into a mission-led life and business. From building companies to helping others align faith, intuition, and strategy, Holly reminds us that purpose often arises from our hardest moments. Holly, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, please take a moment to introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm most proud that I'm a mother of 8 adult children and almost 19 grandkids and have a great husband. And we live in southern Utah. And sometimes life just throws us curveballs and we just need to figure out how to either work with them in our plan or throw them back.
Yeah, exactly. As I've kind of stalked you a little bit and listened to some of your stories and stuff, you talk a little bit about this intense experience you had with COVID, and it really kind of made you take a pause. Like you were just going, and then it was like, okay, let's pause for a few moments and think about things. And it was one of those things where I feel like sometimes in life we struggle to recognize when we need to take a pause. And so sometimes life throws a curveball at us to make us sit still for a minute and rethink things. So can you share a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, God put me in a coma, and in this hospital, I had a 70-day hospital stay with COVID, 2 intubations and a trachea and sepsis. And with that, I had a lot of profound experiences, some out-of-body experiences, a near-death experience, and a spiritual transformative experience, all in about that first 3.5 week period of time. And I think, yeah, I just got put there so that I would sit still and listen. And a lot of that time I was induced into a coma, sometimes paralyzed, sometimes not. And I think that if it's when we don't recognize, like, that was traumatic. Like, I don't feel like people need to have a near-death experience to listen or to make changes in your life. I mean, it really is just a one decision. You can decide right now you're going to change something and then do it. And it does that for you. And I think when I get relapses with my health, it's been 4 years now, I think that same lesson's appearing again because I'm off track. And it's just like, oh, let me like pull your health back a little bit more so you'll realize you need to start listening again or you're just a little off course, which I guess I should be grateful for because not very many people get those kinds of lessons. Like, they're pretty drastic. I'd like to not have those. I'd like to just figure it all out and be able just to glide through life. But what fun would that be?
Yeah, because I sometimes it really does take those moments to just cause us to pause and think about things. And you talked about some relapses with your health. And I do want to take a minute just to talk about the long COVID component of it. When we talked before, I'd mentioned that my college roommate has suffered with long COVID. And before she had COVID, and she didn't even have a very severe case, but she was perfectly healthy. And then all of a sudden, she was just kind of slammed to the side. And the fatigue, the brain fog, everything was just so difficult for her. And she's an elementary school teacher. And so you've kind of got to be on your A game all the time. And thankfully, they were able to find ways for her to work in different capacities during about 2 years while she kind of found her feet underneath her again. But if you want to share a little bit about that, that relapse component of it.
Yeah, the biggest thing I want to say, I've done tons of research because my nonprofit, we were supporting the long COVID community. We've now shifted that as well. So back when I did the research, there was over 100 million people suffering with long COVID. And there's 200, sorry, I'm not getting my numbers right, 200 symptoms attached to it, which if you think about that from a health perspective, that's like everything. And so I think the biggest thing I would want to say to people, if you have some kind of a health issue that has appeared since you got COVID, that is probably linked to it somehow, some way. And yes, people are getting better after 4, now it's been 5 years for a lot of people, 5.5 for some. And I think Oh, almost 6. Gosh, can you believe it's been almost 6? Goodness.
2026.
So a lot of people that got it in the very beginning, they are starting to see a lot of improvements. I threw spaghetti at the wall. Anything that I thought would help, I tried, and major stuff, and I stack it. So like I couldn't really define, oh, well, this helped me or this didn't help me, because it was just like, nope. As long as better is better, I'm okay. But I think, yeah, just realizing it, that a lot of that is attached to it. People just, I think there's a lot more people with long COVID than they know, and
Mhm.
it's not like we need the label or we need to feel better about it, but sometimes it might be something just to think about, because if you're going to your doctor with some new issues that have come up since then, maybe bring that up. And they're starting to recognize that's been the challenge, is that so many people with long COVID get gaslighted, and they don't understand it. I mean, we're their statistics. We are paving the way of how it worked because it was new to everybody. And so I'm sorry for your friend. Yeah, it's not a fun thing. Relapses for me, what they've looked like up until now, fingers crossed, was the first year was 6 weeks of a relapse, where first week I start getting all the fatigue from like fibromyalgia, and then the second week all the pain comes back. I mean, head to toe, 4 to 7. And so I work through it, I push through it, but I feel like crap every day. And so 2 years of 6 weeks, and last week was 10 weeks. And so, a couple weeks ago, I started feeling like the inflammation's coming back. I have a lot of diagnoses from being so sick. And I I just took I just held back a little bit. I just was like, "All right, let's listen to my body. Let's not really push on anything today." And I think that's really helped. I'm still like going in my 4th week of that where I'm like kind of still dragging, but it's not like it was before. So I feel like I'm getting on top of it. And the biggest thing is listen to your body. Like that's really listen.
Yeah.
That intuition is there for everybody. And I think that's what I don't always do. And that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, that actually kind of reminded me of a conversation I'd had with a friend also from college, but she has MS, and it was kind of a similar thing where it took forever to get diagnosed,
Yep.
and but also as a young mom, recognizing the need to listen to your body and know there
Mhm.
are some limitations, and
Yep.
that her kids have been understanding of that, right? Saying,
Yeah.
I've got this going on, and I'm really tired, and I may not be able to make it to this activity.
I have a tip for that real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
When and it was particularly MS. So some friends of mine, her husband had MS, and he would come home. He was the breadwinner of the family, but on the fridge, they had numbers on the fridge, and he would put what number he was. So like, 10 is really bad today, 1 is feeling great. So when he'd get home from work, he'd write the number of how he was feeling, and then they all kind of knew how to handle him, how to support him. And I thought that was a brilliant idea for anybody with any kind of an illness, or cancer, or anything chronic. I think that that's a good way to communicate, even if you're just home with your spouse, because you don't want to come and say, I'm an 8 today, because you feel like you're whining, you're being a victim. But if it was that easy just to go and kind of put that out there, then everyone can support you better.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually I have an interview coming out on February 3rd where we talk about that importance of emotional connection and how sometimes that is being vulnerable enough to say, "Whew, I had a really rough day at work today." And, so the family is aware. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
even chronic illness, it's just dealing with life,
Hmm.
but just being able to be open with people and let them know where you're at so they know how to like
Yeah.
support you in that. And not in a like woe is me kind of way, but in a
Right.
just informative kind of way, right?
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
So you'd mentioned your nonprofit, and that was born of this 70-day battle of COVID, right? The idea of it formed during that time. Can you
Yeah.
share about that?
During my near death experience. And so I was told 2 things to do. I was told to start a nonprofit, first of all, and then I was given the name Adventure Bucket Wish. It's now called Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation. I wasn't given a mission though. And so that was why I created it for long COVID, because I am out of the hospital. Now I'm still suffering really, and all the diagnoses I'm getting are stacking up. And I thought, wow, this is such an underserved community. People don't understand it. Doctors don't know what they're doing, and they're gaslighting us. It was like, and about 2.5 years in, I knew something was off with it, and that it wasn't feeling right to me. And I look back now and I'm like, why do I think that happened? Because I was like, I'll get the answer, but until I do, I had a podcast that I had created. We served people with long COVID. We'd have them as guests. We'd have their caretakers, holistic practitioners, and medical practitioners. That's all I had for guests. And it was like pulling teeth to get people with long COVID with 100 million people that have it. And it just felt off. And so I kept doing the podcast, took all the fundraisers off the calendar, and we had a 501(c)(3) nonprofit set up. And then one day while I was doing the podcast, she's telling her story, and all of a sudden I'm reliving mine. And I'm feeling this like it felt like an elephant was on my chest. And I was like, I felt myself like breathing really heavy, just trying to catch my breath. And I thought, what in the heck is happening? And all of a sudden I get intuition, complete download that says, this is not your mission anymore. And this is your last podcast. And I was actually so excited for that information because I had been a few months in this place where the unknown, and I'm a quick decision maker. So when I make a decision, it's real easy, but I didn't know. And I thought, well, until I know, I'm just going to keep doing the podcast. So that I canceled all my stuff that day. And then I kind of went into a grieving period where why would God tell me to do this and then take it away? Like I didn't understand. And one of my board members is very wise. She's holistic. And she said, if I remember right, you didn't get the mission. We created the mission as the board. Yeah, you're right. Okay. She said, so you're in your third year of the nonprofit. Keep the name that you were given and let's change the mission. What'll light you up? And so that was kind of exciting to be able to create something new. I decided purpose. It had to be about purpose because that's what I gained out of my whole experience. And so it's women leading with purpose and working with women leaders. And it feels great. We haven't done a lot with the nonprofit since we switched it over because I was creating another company and working that. And so I have a great board and it exists, but more to come for sure.
So for you, you were feeling kind of this unsettled feeling about it. So for other people who are trying to start like a soul aligned business and trying to find those things, but they may feel that bit of unsettling, what do you think are ways that they would be able to kind of figure out those signals that maybe they're not quite in alignment with what they should be doing?
I think it's going to be a little bit maybe different for everybody, but a lot of times they say that gut feeling. And I feel like it really, if you go within and listen to what your body's feeling, I do a body pendulum. I don't know if you know what that is, where you stand and your yes is usually you fall forward and your no answers usually fall backwards. Your body knows, your mind knows it's there. We have the answers within us. We just sometimes can't get to them and we can't communicate and we can't think of them. I do that a lot. I do that a lot on my supplement testing. It's just another way of like muscle testing. So for me, if I can't get an answer, then and sometimes I get an answer that's not really clear. I'll get a yes and a no. And I'm like, really? And so then it's like, you just really need to sit still, be present, be calm, ask for the intuition, ask for help. We all have some kind of a higher power that we believe in, and whatever that is for anyone I respect. And I think, and then sometimes we ask for the answers, but we don't want the answer. And so then we're
Yeah.
confused. And when you're confused, nothing's happening. It's just confusion. So I think it's just getting clear. I also will recommend to people like write a pro and a con list. Like if this decision's made, what are all the pros about it? And if this decision's made, what are all the cons about it? And then, you have them, you can look at them in front of you and decide and do it when you're feeling neutral. Don't feel like I'm mad about this and I don't want this to happen. And so I'm going to think of all the reasons why, all the cons, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
Be in a neutral space, ask for that peace and neutral space, go for a walk in nature, do whatever it takes for you to feel good about. I mean, some people need to be alone and other people need to be around people that whatever energizes you, get in that space where you feel like you are going to make an educated decision on whatever it is and then really just listen. I mean, I've had lots of experiences in my lifetime where I I think God for me, that's who my higher power is, knows I need answers quickly. And so I've learned patience mostly by marrying my husband. Very chill and calm, and it's like I got to know everything right now. And I've learned the patience to sit with things and be present, and really it's shifted everything. And I've learned it a lot more in the last 4 years since all these experiences, because in one of my experiences I was also told later, more will be revealed to you when the time is right. How cool is that? I mean, why be mad about that? I'm like, usually that would drive me crazy because I want to know everything. No, I got to know right now. And I'm excited to see what else will be revealed. And if I can't handle everything I would have been told. And so just let it trickle in and let it flow as it's coming and go with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had a friend who had talked about how she was in, I think it was like kind of a transitional stage of life, like college or end of high school, that type of stage. And
Yeah.
she was praying to get inspiration on what she should do. And she got an answer that was just kind of like the next baby step, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm a planner. Like, I wanted to understand more. But also, that idea of just being given that next right step helps us create that stronger relationship spiritually
Yeah.
in order to go back and ask, okay, now what's the next step? I've done this. Now what's the next step?
Right.
For you, how do spirituality and strategy, so business strategy, how do those two things kind of inform one another when the aim of the business isn't just growth, but just being able to find a good life for you and whoever your stewardship is over in your business?
Yeah. That's probably changed for me a lot in the last 4 years as well. I'm not I'm not really so money motivated. I feel like I am more now, which you think after my experience I would be less. But the reason is the mindset changed around it. Like, I feel like I was handed my life Bible, basically, and the end was there and I knew what it looked like. And I just have to figure out all the pages in between and get all the right people to show up. And so I can create the end result. I mean, how many people feel like they have the end result? Like, there's so many unknowns, and I'm like, "Got that." It's figuring out everything else and attracting the right people to come to that. So I think those decisions are different, how I look at them, and the patience, again, has to come up because things I wanna move fast. I always wanna do everything all at once, and I feel like the biggest shifts for me is I'm standing back a lot more and looking at the bigger picture. And again, I see that end result and it's philanthropy work. Well, to do the philanthropy work, I need money. Like my goal is to be a check writer. And I don't say that snobby. I feel like I was shown 2 years after this experience I just had were the worst 2 years of my whole life when they should have been really peaceful and good. And they weren't. They were every bad day times 100 together as the heaviness I felt every single day. I prayed every day I would have died. I was like, why am I saved to go through this? You know? But I know that was another part of the lesson to step into the philanthropy work later. I needed to see some bad situations. I don't have to go relive those now. I just want to say, hey, this is your expertise. This is your specialty. This is the group of people I want to help for the philanthropy work, whatever it is. How much do you need? And just be able to have the funds to be able to do that. So I feel like it's building all the pages in between are building up to that to be able to do that and help so many people.
That's awesome because I'm a founder of a company that does, medication management and in the health tech space and women health research and supporting women's health initiatives has been a struggle just in general, whether you're looking at government support or, venture backed companies, things like that. And especially if it's a female backed company, there's a
Yeah.
lot of struggles for women founders to be able
Yeah.
to find support, especially financially. But I feel like what you're doing with your nonprofit also kind of helps try and
Yeah.
support that ecosystem, right? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, really, like I said, I can't brag too much because I feel like we switched the mission and then I kind of like, all right, now what? And I'm kind of feel like I'm in that now what? Okay, you did it. It feels great. It was right. And then I'm waiting. What's the next step? Right. And it just hasn't been like, here's what's next. And I'm okay to be patient. It's just part of the process. I have plenty other things to be working on, no doubt. But I think, yes, I agree with you. So my other company was called Retreat or is called Retreat R&R. And the concept was there. I had pitched a company. It's a tech company. It's a SaaS, software as a service. Originally, that's part of it. There's a lot of divisions to it, but it was like an Airbnb for retreat venues and retreat leaders. So it would work the
Very cool.
same way as Airbnb, a booking and hosting site. I need about another million to finish it. So I got in, went down the rabbit hole of all that. I was so excited. I had never had a tech startup. I'm like really excited about it. Got involved in some groups, one in particular, and the masculine side of it just it's so masculine. Oh my gosh. I was just like, just felt so heavy. So you know what I did? I'm a fixer. I'm going to find a solution. And I got in there and I knew one of the gals, but I found two others. So there were four of us and we were all founders and we were all had our own tech. We were building kind of basically all at the same level. And I started a mastermind with them. And because it was women energy, and I was like, all right, what? And it was like, you made this mistake, or this person told you this, and we learned from each other. And we didn't even meet maybe for 6 or 8 months. That's kind of all it really took. And then it served its purpose, and we moved on. And I think that is another thing I want to say to people: when you have a great idea, it doesn't mean it's always going to be a great idea. There's a reason. Just like my nonprofit, it was a great idea to support the long COVID community, but really what ended up happening, I was getting better and I was focused. My motto every day was better is better. What can I do today to be better than I was yesterday, health wise, especially? And in that group of people, there's a lot of people that they were scared. They weren't getting better. They weren't doing the things I was doing to get better. And they liked being sick. A lot of people that are sick like to stay in that victim mode. And I noticed the social media groups that I would go on, obviously to get guests and things, it was draining for me. It was like my mental health was suffering because of it. Again, it felt heavy. And then I go over here to the software stuff I'm building and I'm doing them both at the same time. And it's super masculine heavy. And I was just like, wow. And I mean, there's a balance. There just needs to be a balance. I have no problem working with men. I usually get along with them better, even though I can get along with anybody. But it's just finding what's going to work for you, and what might work today may not work tomorrow or next year. And you'll need to make another shift in your life, and you'll need to make another decision to make things better. But I think staying in a decision when your intuition tells you not to is way worse. I seem to have to get hit over the head 3 times, make the mistake 3 times before I'm like, "Oh, let's make a different decision and we might get a different outcome this time." Just saying, that's just been my pattern. So if you have a pattern, figure out what it is, because that's super helpful.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just thinking about that from that perspective of like, if you're working on something that's not in alignment with who you are and you're missing the cues that you need to adjust things, I feel like that's where burnout happens, right? I mean, I think burnout happens in other scenarios as well, but I think in that particular one, that particular situation, what I would describe it as is that's where you start to feel a little bit burnt out because,
Well, it's probably your signs. For you, maybe the burnout is like your body and your mind is telling you stop and you're not listening.
yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes the inverse is true as well. Like if you just keep getting drawn to something and you keep wanting to learn more about it. I interviewed somebody a few weeks ago and we were talking. So he was kind of an art kid growing up, but now he's like a software guy and also does marketing and has his own business and all these different things. And so we are talking about like how important it is to kind of cross train academically. And he's like, and one thing that parents can do with their kids is just let them be introduced to something, but not for a super long period of time. Just pick something for a month and try it out, see if you like it.
Yeah.
And then next month you choose something different. But if they keep returning to the thing that they did 4 months ago,
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, that's something that they're interested in. And for
Yeah.
me, honestly, I'd kind of taken a break from the podcast for a while and was doing all this business stuff. And I missed the creative outlet of the podcast and connecting with people like you and so many others who have great stories to share that I want to be able to highlight and
Right.
share with others. And I was like, I need to get back into this podcasting thing from that fulfillment side of things
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. I love that. I think a lot of people live in that fear. I have to do something new. I have to embrace change. A lot of people don't like change. I love change. My favorite things were when they started figuring out, and I love all the different options for kids now for the way they learn, because I have kids that just had I had one that was 3.5 grade point average that dropped out as a sophomore because he was a worker. And now he owns 3 businesses, and he never, I mean, he didn't even get his GED. He actually went in, and because it took too long to take the test, he failed like social studies. It would have cost him like $10 to go in and just take that part. And he was just like, I don't need it. And it's not because he's being a jerk about it. He just was like, I don't care. And now he's super successful. So I loved like classes that would let you do like once a quarter, you switched and did a different thing. I love stuff like that because you got to kind of get your hands in, and that's probably why I've done so many startup companies, because I get bored easy, but I've had several for 20 years, so it's not like I just like jumped in and jumped out. I would build them, and some of them I would close, some of them I sold. Like it just, some I moved. I mean, it was all different reasons why you do things. But I think just being able to accept change is going to happen no matter what, whether you like it or not. I guess your response to how you're going to be when that happens. And if you know you're not good with change, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up because you're not. Figure out how you can be more accepting to it because it will happen no matter what. And then don't be so into the decision that I'm not going to change or I don't want this to happen that you go 2 or 3 years down the road and you're like, wow, what would have been different in my life if I would have took that pivot at the time I knew I should have. Go do something to figure out like what makes you tick. Why do you do the things that you do? And when you understand that, then you can like look to see, especially if you have a partner or spouse, why are they doing the things that they're doing? And when you can balance and figure out and understand people and who they are, it's a game changer for your decisions, your reactions. It just changes everything when you understand a little bit more about the psychology.
Yeah, of why people do the things that they do. I saw a clip the other day about Warren Buffett giving advice to young people, and he said, "Look in the room and find the person that you really admire, and then figure out 2 or 3 traits that they have that you don't, and strive to figure out ways to gain those traits and those attributes in your life."
Yeah.
And that's the way that you can continue to grow as a person and become the
Yeah.
person you'd like to
I
be,
love
right?
that. Well, you can learn anything. It doesn't mean you'll be great at it. That's not the point. It's okay that you're not perfect. You don't have to be perfect at it. But when you find what you are good at, do everything you can to make it better is better. Just get better. So I
That's
love
a
learning the traits. That's awesome.
I really love that idea of better is better and how you talked about, like, for you, like, just, okay, what can I do today that helps me be better than I was yesterday? In whatever realm of your life that is, that's
Yeah.
such a great practice to just be like, okay, how can I improve today? Even if it's just some small little thing, right? Like, there's all the things about
Yeah.
the
Well,
1%,
but
right?
celebrate that. Like, I think that's the
Yeah.
other thing, especially as women. Mostly, we get into the "we're not the good enough" thing, and, we can't I can't do that. You see your friend and, her house is always clean, and she still has 3 or 4 kids like you do running around. I mean, I had a daycare in my house. My house was hardly ever clean. That's all I did
Yeah.
all day was pick up, but it was also my income and my job there, and so, the end of the day, you pick it up and you start fresh the next day, and that's just the way it is. We're always cleaning up messes especially if we're in any kind of leadership, whether you're a mom or you're in an office or you're driving a bus, whatever it is you're doing, there's always messes to clean up. Always.
Yeah. 100%. Awesome. So I've got one last question, but before that, is there anything else that you wanted to make sure we covered?
One thing I always like to leave as a message, that I out of my near death experience. And you can search my name on YouTube. I'm on a lot of near-death shows, if that interests you. A lot of people love that, and I think it's about a 45-minute story. So you can find that out there. So I've just given you little pieces of it. But the message that I was able to receive, and I actually got it in a hypnosis session about my near-death experience when I was missing. I call them, I was missing some gaps in the story. And out of integrity for my book, I wanted to make sure that I covered that. And anyway, I was told in that, and remember, I had just come out of this 2 years. I call it my 2 years of hell. So from my experience to now, it had been 2 years, and it was awful, awful days. So I was really raw, and I'm having this experience, and I'm seeing my life review, and I'm only seeing good. And I only saw the good the first time, but I didn't think, because I was in such a great space, I didn't think to ask. You don't care. You're just experiencing, love, peace, and joy. You don't care. Well, when I did the hypnosis session, I remembered, like, why did I only see good? And I didn't ever see God in my experience, but I heard him, and he very clearly said, I'm showing you the good because that's what matters. And then he told me these words. He said, love them where they're at. And I thought, wow, if I would have remembered that 2 years before, I wouldn't have had all those experiences and lessons that I really did need, even though I don't want to ever go through that time again and feel that pain again, because I would have reacted different. It takes the judgment away. And so I think just saying those words love them where they're at. If people can just remember that, it will shift energy around people. And then the other thing is when you don't like somebody, they are the best person to go serve. And you may not feel like it, and you may not even feel like it while you're doing it, but it will change the energy, I promise you. So think about what you can do to love someone where they're at and then serve them somehow.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that bit of wisdom. My son has a book that says at the front, it says, "A villain is a victim whose story hasn't been told yet." And
Yeah,
just that perspective of everybody
so
is
true.
dealing with something and the
Yeah,
importance of loving them where they're at.
yeah.
Awesome. So, my final question is always the same. It's one purpose of Pebbles of Light is to honor the relationships that quietly brighten our path and help us find our way. And you've shared some experiences that you've had with people lighting your path a little bit, but more so ways that you've been able to guide others and light their path through different ventures that you've had. But could you share about one or two of those people who have placed a pebble of light in your path when you needed it most and how it changed your path?
Yeah, this is an interesting one that this is popping in my mind. I've been a leader to a lot of people, and I feel like I've been a mentor to a lot of people, which makes me happy. That really, I mean, for me, when you say, what does success mean to you? People ask that all the time. You hear? It's one word, happy. That's all it is to me. If I am happy, that's what matters. So for me, that's what it is. And I had a mentor a couple years ago that came into my life and he never asked for anything. And I said to him, I can't wait until I get all this success, all this happy, but it'll be in the form of also some money financially to do what I need to do to just send him a check one day and he just opens it up and I did tell him that. Like usually I wouldn't tell someone I want to do that, but I did because I was so grateful. He showed up for me and he was so giving with his time and time's precious. Like more than ever now, I understand it because I almost lost all my time and I got it back. And so it's like that for me, it's all about the service. It's what someone has done. It was light in a different way that I would have never expected. Like I've had so many people that I've looked up to and that have set great examples and taught me so many things. And I've had a lot of bad situations that have taught me a lot of things that you don't want to you understand what you don't want to be and who you don't want to look up to and strive. It's like you finding those traits with those people that you admire. Same thing. It's like surrounding yourself with good people. I want to be the dumbest one in the room because that's how I learn and that's how I grow. I don't mind being the leader. I don't mind giving people advice. When people would say health wise, what got you better? How did you get better? And you know what? It's kind of not the nicest answer, but I always say, what are you willing to do? Because for me, my breath was everything. That's what I lost. And I'll give you as many breaths as you need to move your life forward. But if you're not willing to take the steps and to do them, to me, I'm wasting my breath and that's not worth it to me. So that's just always my question back. My list is long and I'll share with you whatever you need, but what are you willing to do? I want to hear the answer, whatever it takes, because that's what I was willing to do. And that makes me, yeah, I appreciate when people do that. I love that. So anyway, that's what I thought of when you said that.
Yeah, awesome. It sounds like the mentor loved you where you were at, right? They were
Yeah.
there to support.
Yeah.
If listeners want to learn more about you, where can they go to find more?
Well, my website's just my name, hollyporter.com. I'll give you a link that is my link tree that connects you to all my social media, my website, even the book, neardeathshift.com, if that's something you're interested in. It is a spiritual book and a personal development book. The first half is my story about everything, and the second is how I applied the surrender, hope, intuition, faith, and transformation to get through everything that I got through. And I shouldn't say I'm out of it all yet. I mean, we're always learning, we're always growing, but the book had to have an end at some point.
Exactly. That's true. Awesome. And I'll make sure I'll put all those links in the show notes so people
Thank
can find
you.
them easily. Thanks so much for being here.
Appreciate you.
I love this conversation with Holly. I really like the idea of striving to find alignment and taking the simple step of better is better. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear said, habits are the compound interest of self improvement. If you can get just 1% better at something each day, by the end of the year, you will be 37 times better. In October 2021 talk, Michael Dunn said, "Seek modest but makeable fixes in your life that might result in the sweet joy of being just a little better. Because every effort to change we make, no matter how tiny it seems to us, just might make the biggest difference in our lives." This episode's pebble is a small action. Choose one area of your life where better is better and where you can work on that, and make just one gentle adjustment this week. Pebbles of Light exists because of listeners like you. Subscribe, share, or reach out. We'd love to hear how these stories are shaped. Pebbles of Light exists because of listeners like you. Subscribe, share, or reach out. We'd love to hear how these stories are shaping your path. See you next time. Thank you for tuning in. My hope is that something helped you feel seen, encouraged, or inspired to bring light to someone else. If a name or moment stood out, don't let it pass. Reach out, express gratitude, or take that next step. You can connect with me anytime on socials at Pebbles of Light or at annemaxson.com. If this episode was meaningful for you, please follow the show, rate or review, and share it with someone who might need a lift today. And if you want to go a step farther, you can support the show on Patreon. See you next time.